And my father was a very jealous, very possessive man. And he wasn't physically abusing by no means, but he was very psychologically, no good with to my mom, right? Mm-hmm. But then I moved out when I was 19 years old, and I got into a relationship. Now I have no guidance. The only guidance I have is a possessive, jealous man, controlling, and I have no clue how to be a man, what a man is, how does he look like, what does he do, how does he respect women? Have no idea. And I enter this relationship, and what do? I mirror my father, right? Because I thought, well, if I mirror my father, then he will love me because we are same, right?
Today's man knows who he is, where he stands, and what he aspires to become. Solid in his convictions, owner of his destiny, ever evolving into husbands and fathers our wives and children expect and deserve. We are the masters of our life and the leaders of our homes and community. Welcome to the movement. Stay strong, my brother.
Well, welcome everyone to the Evolving Man podcast. I'm the founder of The Awakened Man and your host, Alan DeMonso. For an artist, a masterpiece is created by balancing the shadows into the canvas. And my guest today calls himself the life artist. And he says that because the canvas is his life. And he shares how he's going to transform his mess, as he calls it, into this powerful message of moving your experiences from black and white to 4K HD. But before we get into all of that, I just want to remind you about our brotherhood, the Band of Brothers. This is our group mentoring program. It's a community of strong, resilient men where each man is dedicated to his growth and those of his brothers. And while guys, that's a phenomenal program and we get great results from, if you're really interested in raising the standards that you show up as a father, a husband, an entrepreneur, then I encourage you to participate in our Hero's Quest. It's a 90-day mentoring program that's aimed to improve at least one aspect of your life. Now you can find all of this at the Awakened Man Training Academy at members.theawakenedman.net. With that, let's get on with today's show. So as you know, everyone, I'd like to get started with our show with a couple of questions. So here's the first one I have for you. What is your aha moment? You know, that moment when your life changed forever. Well, today, my guest, Rodolfo De Angeli, joins me, and he's going to share his incredible hero's journey and how he transformed his life from sexual abuse, incarceration, to owning a 7-figure construction business. And today, he is the founder of lifeartists.me, a movement that's focused on self-discovery and action. Now, I don't want to give too much more away because his story is so incredible, and I really would like to have Rodolfo share that. Rodolfo, thank you for showing up today. Really great to see you here.
Alan, first of all, thank you so much. Let me just check. I'm not sure who about you were talking about because it sounded all really amazing. So even my cat over here, she's looking like, oh my God, that guy sounds pretty cool. But yeah, listen, I am really, really grateful. First and foremost, I want you to know that I'm really grateful to be here. I don't take this lightly, and it's an absolute honor. And I hope that I can bring something to you and your audience. I will definitely try my best. So, it's amazing to be here.
Right on. Well, I'm more than sure, having done some research and do a little background for today. I'm just so excited that you committed to doing this with us, and I know you're going to have a ton of value to share with us. And so let's start off with a softball. Well, I think it's a softball for you. I want to get started by, can you describe to us what you mean by a life artist?
That's a great question. Actually, life artists came together from a friend of mine that I met years and years ago in the jungle in Peru. His name is Ben, and he was a guest at my home a few years ago. And one morning, he came to do some work with me because a part of being a coach, I also practice ancient Indian shamanism. So he came to do a little retreat, private retreat with me, and he stayed at my home. And one morning we got up and I made a coffee, and I asked him if he wanted a coffee. I made a coffee. I got a little machine, whatever. So, I'm pouring the coffee, waiting for the coffee to come out, serve him the coffee. And eventually we go out in the back and we sit around, and he looks at me, and he said, I'm going to tell you something. And I say, yeah. He goes, we have met each other for a long time now, and I have been looking at you very, very closely. you are a freaking life artist. And I'm like, life artist? What is a life artist, right? And he goes, I look at you when you do things and it seems like you are in that thing and whatever you do. And he said, this morning I watched you pouring that coffee for me and you were looking at the machine and the coffee coming out and it looked like it was the best machine in the world and the best coffee in the world. So, the way you live your life, it's in a very artistic way. And that life artist stayed with me since that moment. And I evolved that, what he shared with me, but also, today I see the life artist as the person who, no matter what life has served, but he was able to grab everything that life has served and turn it into colors, right? And use those colors, the shadows, the lights, the bright and the darkness, and put them all on a canvas in which the canvas will become the creation, the masterpiece of every single person's life. And one day I believe we'll be looking back at our life on our rocking chair or whatever someone will be, and we will look back and we will not really see or think about the hours in the office or what we achieved or perhaps, all those kind of things, but we will actually look at what life really was about. Mm-hmm. And to me, life is a masterpiece and we are the creators. We are the life artists of our life. So that is for me, the life artist, the one that creates its life with whatever has been given for him. I hope this makes some sense.
That makes total sense. And aho, my brother, that is just perfect. I think it's, what my takeaway from hearing what you just said is about being completely present in everything that we do, that nothing is taken for granted and that Absolutely. We are completely engaged in every moment of our life. And Absolutely. I think that is so powerful. And as men, it's something that we need to learn a little bit more because we can become very robotic about what life is about. And I think that is just for you to kick us off that way. That was just phenomenal. As I was reading your backstory, I have to say that what I read is truly a hero's journey. And I'm wondering if we could spend a few more minutes hearing about your story. I see it as a story of redemption and transformation from the things that you had encountered as a young man and getting to the point of where you are today doing the work that you do. So I was wondering if you mind being vulnerable enough to share more of your story.
Absolutely, it would be an honor. Actually, I get goosebumps every time I have to, and I get to relive my own story. My story started very young. Actually, at 8 months old, I was given away by my parents. My parents were migrated from Italy to Switzerland, and after the war, they tried to make a living, and they tried to make a good life for the family, and hopefully buy a home and go back, to their land. But in 1969, I was born, and I somehow shuffled their cards and shuffled their projects, shuffled their dreams, I guess. And so they decided they had to make a decision, and they decided to give me to foster parents. Which I stayed until the age of 11. And eventually I came back home. But as you can understand, I had no real clue who my parents were. Obviously, I saw them along the 11 years. Every so often they would pick me up and I would spend some time with them. But I always asked them to bring me back home, bring me to my mom, bring me to my dad, right? So when I came home after I was 11, I didn't have a clue who they were. I didn't have a clue who I was because, now I was living 11 years with 4 different foster parents. So every time I was kind of settling in, I had to move again. And then I arrived at what seemed to be the final destination with people that I had no clue who they were. And, I was 11, so a young boy, and I tried to fit in. How do I get myself to be loved by these people now? And how long is this going to last that I then have to move on again? So for me, younger years, probably even, as an adult my task has been, how do I get myself to be loved? How do I get myself to be seen? And it has been not an easy journey at the beginning, So I was just giving myself away. I was just, anybody that had a minute for me was my best friend on the dot. right? And so much so, and today I can talk about every single detail of my life because I understand it all, so there's no pain attached. But I was so much driven to be loved and accepted that when I was younger, like 11, 12, 13, up to 14 years old, I grew up alone. My brother was 12 years the senior. So anybody that would play with me was great. I had a moment to not be alone. And most of the time there were adults involved with playing with me. And I was so much in need to company and all of that I would, if I had to go to the toilet, my fear was, if I leave here with this guy playing soccer with me, if I leave and I come back, this guy is gone and I'll be alone again. And I would literally do whatever, number one or two, on myself, right? Wow. Just to be there and just to be with someone, right? Yeah. And which then caused so much trauma because, so much shame, because then I would go home and I knew he wasn't right? And I had to hide things and whatever. But that was my younger years. Eventually, the connection with my parents, especially with my father, didn't happen at all. Mm-hmm. And my father was a very jealous, very possessive man. And he wasn't physically abusing by no means, but he was very psychologically, no good to my mom, right? Mm-hmm. But then I moved out when I was 19 years old and I got into a relationship. Now I have no guidance. The only guidance I have is a possessive, jealous man, controlling, and I have no clue how to be a man, what a man is, how does he look like, what does he do, how does he respect women? I have no idea. And I enter this relationship, and what do? I mirror my father. Right? Because I thought, well, if I mirror my father, then he will love me because we are same, right? And what did I do? 4 months later, my first wife I found her with someone else, right? I walk in, there she is with someone else. So the years go on, I fall in more into my deepest, anguish, if you wish, because I had no clue. My wife now is cheating on me as well. And I couldn't realize that what I was doing wasn't right. That came much, much later. So everything was happening to me, right? And eventually I entered a little bit of a shady situation and again, to be seen, right? I went into the craziness and I ended up in prison. And that was, late 20s. So we are already, hitting 30 years old. And when I came out, I had nothing left and ended up on the streets. So I was homeless for a couple of months, trying to figure myself out and so on and so forth. And from that moment on, my thought was, okay, I need to reset everything. I need to get out of here. I was living in Switzerland still. Yeah. And I need to, plan B, right? I need a plan B here. So I scratched some money together. I met my wife, what is today my wife. I met her online in a very strange way. But anyway, I thought, okay, let me go to Australia. Perhaps that's the place I need to go, right? And coming back and forth a few times, 3 years later, I moved and I came here. And life was amazing, right? I mean, I left all my bullshit behind. I left everything behind. I'm like, yeah, my God, nobody's calling me. Nobody's wanting me. Nobody's nothing. I'm just here. These sunny days. I'm living in a big home. Oh my God, this is amazing. And it was for a year. And I remember I was living in a place where my backyard was giving onto a golf course. And at the end of my backyard was the green of one of the holes. And there was a little flag in there, right? Yep. And I remember one night, it was a summer night, 2004. And I walked out, it was about 11:30 in the evening. It was beautiful, beautiful moon. And I walk out there and I lay down. And as I lay down, I had the flag just hitting my head in the back. So I'm looking up, I see the moon and this flag, right? And I say to myself, I made it. right? I freaking made it. I'm good now. And I don't know what it was, but something definitely heard me, and it said, no, it's not. This is just a dream that is about to end. And from that moment on, life went just downhill really rapidly. And I entered deepest depression and anxiety. I was away from home, away from everybody that I turned my back on, thinking that was the best decision to do and just run away. But what I learned is in life, you pay for everything. And eventually the bill gets served. At the end of the meal, you will get the bill and you will have to pay no matter where you go. And, eventually reading Seneca, he says, no matter under what sky you travel, you'll always travel with yourself. And that was the day for me that what I thought the past was bad, the next 6 years of my life were absolute terror, absolute terror, trying to, run away from the anxiety, run away from the depression, run away from everything at 1,000 miles an hour until it was 2010, sometimes in August, sometimes 2010. And I'm in my garage after weeks and weeks of contemplating suicide. I'm in my garage. There's a rope there ready. Everything is ready to go. And behind me, I'm sitting on the floor. Behind me is a race motorcycle that I used to race for a little while that then anxiety took from me as well. But and then there was a window, right? And I'm pretty much sitting on the floor, my back to the bike, and I'm looking at the rope until I found this is the moment. This is me going, And and I remember I got up and I had this moment of strength and say, okay, it's that time. I gotta let everybody go and carry they might carry on with their life and just being a weight anyway. And I turn around and there's this window that you can only see from the inside out. And on the other side of the window, there's a little patio and then the back of my home, which was the lounge room. And in there is my wife watching TV. And at the moment I'm farewelling my wife, she burst out in this hysterical laughter, like literally hysterically laughing on a show that she was watching, right? And at that moment, there was this thing that happened, that aha moment, if you wish, or that epiphany moment, like we always hear. And there was that question that came up, and I said, there has to be more to misery, or there has to be more to life than misery, because I am 9 feet away from another human being that has an absolute ball in life, and I am about to end mine. So there has to be more to life than misery. And that was the moment that I, disregarded my plan and walked into my home. And my wife thought that I was training, because in my garage there was a little gym set up. And I'm totally dry and I usually sweat and whatever. And I stand next to her. And she says, you're okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay now. And I told her what was happening, what was about to happen. And obviously for that moment on, I was like, okay, how do I do this? And then I stumbled on a quote that said, if you do what you have always done, you will get what you have always gotten. And man, I'm sure you heard that quote before, right? And I'm like, good Lord, this is wow. Who said this quote, right? And I researched and I stumbled on Tony. It was Tony Robbins' quote, which I didn't know at the time. Yeah. And so I researched him a little bit. I went onto his website. There was a workshop, UPW called, that was happening the week after in Sydney, right? An hour flight from me. And I'm like, oh my God, is this where I got to go? And that moment I'm on antidepressants and, all sorts of stuff. And I remember I called my wife from the back of the house to the front of the house and said, Grace, do you know this Tony Robbins guy? Have you ever heard? And she goes, yeah, I think he's a speaker, motivational guy, whatever. And I said to her, do you think he can help me? It was brother, it was the moment, I think life humbled me.
Yeah.
Yeah, humbled me, man. It told me to reach out, to stop trying to do it all by yourself, and to give yourself a chance, right?
Yes.
So I booked this plane, I booked the ticket. A week later, we were at UPW jumping around like crazy people, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been there, right? Well, I'm jumping around and it's amazing. And on Sunday, I'm waking up for another day. And I remember I go to the bathroom and I'm brushing my teeth. I remember, and I grab my tablet, my antidepressant or anti-anxiety, whatever they were, and I pop it in my mouth. And I grab a glass, grab the water, and as I put the glass to my mouth, I literally connect to myself in the mirror. And at that moment, I think I saw myself for the first time. I was 40 years old. And I spat out, now this is what I'm saying here. This is a big disclaimer. You do not have to do what I do. This is only my story. So, you take medical advice, do all the right thing. Do not listen to me. This is only my story. I want to make sure of that. But at that moment, I just spat out the tablet, grabbed the packet, flicked all the tablet down and flushed. I say, never again. This is never going to happen again to me. And that was my journey, to the new me, to the new version of me, to trying to understand who I was and so on and so forth. So after UP, got myself a coach and, it was amazing, right? My company was nearly non-existent. And all of a sudden we are at 7 figures. We got 22 staff. Everything is freaking amazing, right? But only a few years later, that lasted probably a year and a half. And I went right back into my anxiety. Like it felt even more than what I had previously. And what I understood there, Elaine, was that I did great work on my outer journey, but my inner journey was not touched at all. Yes, I was jumping around. Yes, I was happy. Yes, I was doing affirmations. Yes, I was doing all the things that I was told, right? But they still didn't do what I needed to have done, which was understanding my story, which was healing the parts of my life, forgiving the people involved, and all of that. So I talked to my coach and I said, okay, that's where we're at. I'm going very quickly backwards. I need to address this. And we tried in different ways, but it really didn't really work and nothing really worked. And one day I'm driving, at that stage again, I'm super, super anxious, successful. I'm driving like $300,000 cars and, money coming out of everywhere. But man, I am miserable. I am in pain, right? Empty, exactly, right? And then one day I'm listening to a podcast, it was 2012, and I heard about plant medicine, I heard about shamanism, I've heard about all of this stuff. And eventually, long story short, I ended up in Peru, doing some incredible work in the jungle of Peru, which then became my home for the next, now it's nearly a decade. And first I started obviously working with on myself and doing all of that, which literally just transformed my life. I had first taken care of my outer journey. Now I took care of my inner journey, and now it's like in balance. And then eventually one day, I am taken aside from some of my teachers over there, and they had a chat to me regarding me and, embarking on that path, which I didn't want to because, it wasn't me. And eventually I was pushed into it. And it was the right thing to do. It was just the time. And then, I spent years and years and years in solitude in the jungle in Peru, working with some incredible, amazing teachers and shamans and curanderos who, allowed me not just to find myself, not just to become a man, but to really be able to serve today in a complete different way. So today my approach is a combination of coaching and shamanism at the same time, which, where I bring a person on their outer journey, whatever they want to achieve, but at the same time also on their inner journey, who do they need to become. So then the achievement is not replenishing the void that people have, to get that feeling for a minute, an hour, a week, maybe a month, and then they need to jump on the next thing, but they actually go their whole. And whatever they achieve is not to fill any void or to be seen, but it's actually a representation of who they are. And that is a beautiful way of living. And I call that the living as a life artist. So I call my program Life Artist Mastery. And this is my journey of 52 years old. I'm 52 today. I'm married to Grace, my wife, which is absolutely my hero, that believed in me before I even knew how. And I got 3 cats, and we live a beautiful life. But again, when we do things don't just happen and everything is just roses and everything, right? Matter of fact, 3 years ago, we entered a business venture with another company, and the other company forged all the paperwork and went bankrupt and took us with. So we lost everything we had. We engaged a law firm which promised us that we had a case and we could definitely win this. So what did we do? We put everything on red. Everything we had, we put on red and rolled the dice. And we get out of the court case and we lost everything. 22 staff lost their jobs. We lost all our money. Cars were gone. Everything was gone. And there we are, back to ground zero. 2 days later, Grace gets diagnosed with cancer. And it's like, okay, how is this perfect for me now? That was my first question. How is this perfect for me now? Because there's something for me here, right? It's not to me. It's not happening to us. It's happening for us. Why is it perfect? How do I find a way out? And that was another journey that then started 3 years ago to get me to where I am today. Today, I don't own a construction business anymore. Today, I'm a coach, and I practice shamanism, holding retreats. Before this situation, it was worldwide, mainly in Peru, but also in the USA. And here today, it's only here. But this is my journey, my dear friend. The journey of...
What an incredible story. It's just blown away. It's more impactful hearing you tell it than reading it through my research. And and you've touched on so many things there, Rodolfo, like everything from the father wound that many of us, boys and men, struggle with, and because our fathers didn't know how to teach us to be men, and you had to struggle through that. And the other thing I kept picking up from there is I really like how you talked about how you had done all the right things externally, but when it really came, when you really did the analysis, the deep look, that you recognize that it was the journey is an inside out journey, not an outside in piece. Absolutely. And so it's just, I just so astounded at the stuff that you've been through, and even as little as 3 years ago, and you continue to rise and to ultimately come to the question is, how can this serve me? How does this help me develop who I am as an individual?
How is this perfect for me?
Yeah, absolutely. And you talked about, walking that razor's edge and being at that moment of contemplating suicide, and then being able to think like that just before you're going to do it. That one piece you talked about, seeing your wife and gaining perspective. And how many times as men do we lose perspective of things because we get caught in our own stories, the stories that we tell ourselves over and over again, and it gets embedded in who we are as individuals. And thankfully for you, that window was there to give you an opportunity to see a different perspective and see what you still had to give to this world.
Absolutely.
And the other piece you talked about was, nothing in life comes for free.
Nothing.
And I really liked how you talked about how it doesn't come from nothing in life comes from free. But you I also wanted to ask you this: what are the two most important words would you say are in your life?
The two most important words in life are thank you and sorry. I believe that's my hallucination. I believe those are the most important ones that will set you free, but also will set you in balance with everything around you. And I believe that at the end, through my work with shamanism, I have been pushed in many areas of my soul where you literally, you're pretty much attached to a string, between here and the other side. And I understood that the moment of transition is a very delicate moment. And no matter what someone believes or not, if there is an afterlife or not, it is what it is. Everybody believes whatever they want, right?
Yeah.
But it's definitely a moment where we're going to get out of here. And that moment, if you have weights on you, if you have not said the thank yous and sorries that you need to have said, it's going to be not a very easy transition. It's going to be agony, right? It's going to be agony. And you're not going to get out of here very easily. That's as well, right? If I learned a very great lesson, a part of my journey, as a shaman and working with very powerful entheogen and practices. But my father was a great teacher in that. My father eventually got very sick, 2006, probably a few years earlier than that. But then in 2006, his cancer really took the best of him. And he was in hospital for 6 months. My mom was with him, taking care of him. My father was 74, I believe. My mom was 71. And my father, to the end, believe it or not, Alan, jealous and possessive and controlling, right? To the end. My mom would go home every couple of days to have a shower. When she would come home, he would still give her a hard time, right? Who did you see? Where'd you go? All that kind of crap, right? But this was his nature. Now, I remember, I connected with my mom at 47 years old. See, I had no relationship. I'm 52. It's only 5 years ago. I reconnected with my mother 5 years ago, where I decided that a key point for me to become a better husband, I needed to have a good relationship with my mother. I needed to forgive.
Absolutely.
I needed to forgive. See? Because otherwise we only operate at 70, 80%. And our wives is paying the price of the trust or the love or whatever it is that we didn't get. And that moment for me was very crucial. I needed to reconnect to my mother. I needed to put my ego aside. I needed to bow, and I needed to go back and get us connected. And, today we have an amazing relationship. My mom is 89, I'm 52, and we now Skype and have some fun and eat together, drink together, and, have a beautiful, beautiful time together. But that was a very, very crucial time. And during that time, I asked my mom, could you please share with me the last few minutes of my dad's life? Mm-hmm. And she said, that's very funny. You asking me this because it was very, very special. And she said that my father went to bed at 9:30. I mean, my father was in bed. Everything wasn't working for him anymore. He was at the end. I actually went to see him just before that, but I was on a sponsorship, and my sponsor was taking away my ability to stay here. So I had to come back before my father passed. That was 2007. Mm-hmm. And my mom said he went to bed. It was 9:30. We switched off the lights. It was 9:30. My mom would sleep with her head on this side. My dad's head was on that side, so she could see him. And if he needed something, but at that stage you couldn't eat anymore, drink anymore. It was all done, right? Yeah. But anyway, she woke up at 11:30 at night. And the doctors don't know how this man is still alive. Everything is gone, right? He shouldn't be alive. But anyway, she wakes up and she sees my father looking at her as she was sleeping. So she sees him and she gets up and said, Bruno, my father's name was Bruno. I said, Bruno, do you need anything? Right? And my father didn't have a voice anymore. Everything was gone. He just said no, right? And my mom said, what can I do for you, And my mom and my father looked at my mom and said, I am sorry. And my mom said, sorry for what? And he goes, I'm sorry for the life I made you live. I didn't know how, and I was scared to lose you. And all I knew to do is hold you. But I hurt you, and I am sorry. And my mom said, you're good. Don't worry. It's all good. Just get better and we get out of here. And my dad opened his eyes a little bit more, like a big opening of his eyes, and gone.
Wow. That
proves to me what I learned as a shaman is exactly right, my friend. You can't get out of here with your sorries not said, with your thank yous not said. You will need to come clean. What did I do? This is funny, because I called everybody that I hurt in the past, even my first wife, called her back 25 years later. Hey, do you remember me? I am sorry. I didn't know how to be a man. I didn't know anything. And I appreciate you. But here I am apologizing to you. And you know the beautiful part about that, my brother, when we say sorry to people, we not only free ourselves, but we free the other person too, because they oftentimes feel something as well. And I remember her saying, you know, I am sorry for what I did. It wasn't right. Right? So all of a sudden, boom, it was this cord was just disconnected and everything goes back to balance. And, you know, our backpack is one extra rock in that backpack is gone and we can all carry on, you know. So forgiving is just changing the meaning of the past. It's nothing else. You know, oftentimes, yes, people might have done things that aren't right, but we don't know where they were. I remember the person that abused me sexually, you know, at the beginning, as a man, you can imagine, how can I be a man if I wasn't even able to defend myself? How can I be a man if I was pushed to do those things? How can I be a man if I wasn't able to even stand for myself? And eventually I realized I was 11 years old. I didn't stand a freaking chance. All I could do was understand where was this person. And this person was a 19 years old young man, lost his father. The mother was jumping from one guy to the other. He didn't know where the heck he was, who the heck he was. He didn't know how to control, how to be in power. And all of a sudden, there I am, an 11-year-old boy that he thought, you know what, I'm going to take care of this guy for a moment. So I feel powerful. So when I was able to see that, all of a sudden, I can feel the pain within him. And all of a sudden, the blame, the finger pointing becomes compassion. And once we realize that, once we realize this story at 360 degrees, like we had, imagine a story being a sphere, and you can see all of the side. All of a sudden, the story changes and go back to really what it really was. People in pain. Now, I'm not condoning what was done. I'm not saying that. But we can carry on our life carrying that shit. Yeah. Or we can try to understand and put an end to it and allowing ourselves to move on.
Absolutely.
And I think that is probably the better choice.
Absolutely. I'm just amazed at listening to your story and hearing you tell it. And it truly is a redemption hero story where you've come back now, you know, as the full man and being able to give back the things that you've now learned to be able to help others in their lives, you know, live more fully and more present. And I think that's such an incredible piece, you know. And I was just thinking about, as you're telling that last story about forgiveness, and you know, it reminds me of a Buddhist story that I heard a long time ago about a master and his apprentice, and they're walking in the woods and they come up to a stream, and there's a lady there, and in that tradition, they're not allowed to touch women. And so the master picks her up and carries her on her back to go across the water. They get across the water, and I'm sure you've heard the story, and puts her down, and they carry on. And after a couple of miles of walking, finally the apprentice can't take it anymore. It was, master, like, why did you do that? Like, why, like, we're not supposed to do that. And he says, you shouldn't have put her down. And he says, no, I've put her down a long time ago. You need to put her down. And how often do we do in life that we carry these wounds? And as men, it's hard for us to do that internal work, to accept that we have wounds that we need to heal, whether it be from abuse or fathers, and being able to recognize the impact that our mothers had in our growth as well. And to hear you talk about forgiveness in terms of your mom and how that has impacted your relationships, just says so much to me about the kind of character and quality of a man that you are. And it's truly, truly outstanding, Rodolfo.
I
wanted to ask you, though, as we get here to closing, just what are 3 questions that you would need to ask yourself if you're going to go through any adversity? If somebody's going through an adversity, what would be 3 questions that they should be asking themselves?
Well, I believe the first question is, how is this perfect for me now? Right? No matter what happens to a person, how is this perfect for me now? Mm-hmm. Right? Because we can straight away go into panic mode. It's like, when we lost everything and Grace got cancer, I could have, just hide. Now, this doesn't mean that we are not scared. This doesn't mean that we are not on the back foot for a moment, but there's a moment of you can retreat and hide, waiting for everything to be over, which it will not be. It will wait for you right there. Or look for the lesson within there. Look for the lesson. How is this perfect for me now? What is the wisdom that I need to understand what has been given? How do I get that wisdom to understand what is going on right now, that it's perfect for me? Wow. Right? That's the first one. Second is, okay, what is it that I want right now then? Okay, this happened. Cool. What do I want? Okay, let me get a direction. If we do not have a direction, we ain't going to go nowhere. It's like, I have always this analogy of a GPS, right? It's like me saying to you, hey, Elaine, I'm just moving home. I'm just moving home. And at Saturday, can you and your wife or your partner come to my house? Grace is cooking. We're going to have an amazing time. All right, get you Saturday. Boom. And you're like, oh, shoot. I don't have the address. How am I going to get there? Right? You can't get there. But also, if I do, hey, Elaine, we just moved home. This is the address. You and your wife, your kids, your family, whatever, come over Saturday night. Grace is cooking. I see you there. And I hang up. But then a couple of hours before, I send someone to grab you and bring you, blind you so you can't see, and bring you somewhere. There's no phone. There's nothing. And they let you go. Nobody gets harmed, right? Well, you get to my house. No, because you don't know where you are. We need a departing point. We need an arrival point. So at that moment, when something happens, we need to, first, how is this perfect? Cool. Now, second, where am I? Where am I want to go? Yeah. So we have a departing point and we have an arrival point. And number 3, what is the first step I need to do right now? Not 100th step, not my 9th step or the 13th step, but my next one step here. Nice. What is that I need to do? Don't worry about step number 3. You're not there yet. Number 1, what is that? Then it's number 2, not 5, but 2. And then it's 3, not 11, but just 3. And you go one at a time. And you go to that direction. But make sure you know where you're at. Yeah. Make sure you understand the lesson. Why is this perfect for me? And know where you want to go. And then take action. One little action at a time. I got a little tattoo here on my forearm, on my wrist, actually. It says 2 millimeters. Tiny little adjustments every single day. Where do you think your life is going to be in 1, 10, 20, 50 years? 2 millimeters little adjustments. Nothing too radical. As you're playing golf, you don't need to adjust the club too much if your ball went off the fairway. You just adjust tiny. Boom. And you're 400 meters down in the middle of the fairway. Life is the same thing. Little adjustments, one at a time, and you get exactly where you want to go. And once you look back and you said your thank yous and your sorries and you appreciated everything and you accepted all of the colors that life gave you, guess what? You're going to stand in front of a beautiful, beautiful masterpiece. And guess what? That masterpiece is you. It's your life that you designed, you created, you painted, and you gave it all you had. At that moment, my friend, you're going to get out of here with a smile. It's like going to sleep.
Nice. Oh, that is so powerful. It's so powerful. Outstanding. I just want to thank you so much, Rodolfo, for spending time with me today as we unpacked quite a bit, and hopefully we're able to shed a little bit of light on the importance for men and for women to how it is that they need to heal past wounds, right? To help us live happier and more fulfilling lives now. I know you mentioned your life artist mastery course. Is there a way that is that operating? How would somebody reach out and get a hold of you to participate in that program or anything else that you have offered right now?
Absolutely. If they go to lifeartistmastery.com, they're going to get to a site, and from there they can opt in. The second side will be a bunch of questions and see, I only take very, very small numbers. I have a limit of 25 people. I think I got 3 people opening right now. And my program is very, 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 very how should I say? Very much connected with the person. So yes, we do like weekly calls or whatever, but we actually are talking every single day because people have access to me every single day. Whatever happens at any moment in the day, you do not need to wait another week to get to me, but you reach out on the day and we adjust that straight away. So you keep on going. Wow. And then once a week, I catch up with the people, and then we will go over the last 7 days and see where we're going the next. So the program is very intense, very, very, very much a journey that we go on together. Very intimate. That's the word I'm trying to find. So it's a very intimate journey, which is absolutely amazing because I get to, at the moment, I am on 22 different journeys, working with CEOs and all sorts of people, with a person who was 20 years with a therapist, was diagnosed with PTSD, social anxiety, self-harm, suicide ideation, and autism. And we've been working together for 7 weeks, and this woman is absolutely freaking thriving, which is out of control. Only the reason is the outer journey and the inner journey at the same time. And a lot of work together on an intimate basis that people have support when they need it. And that's what I do. So lifeartistmastery.com. And then there is a free giveaway if you wish at ultimatesuccess.me. There's a little giveaway that I do, a bunch of things which are quite powerful and can set up someone to take the first steps into the right direction. So that's where you can find me, obviously on Facebook at Rodolfo De Angeli, Instagram, Rodolfo De Angeli, my podcast, Life Artists Radio. So yeah, connect with me, reach out to me. It'd be amazing to hear from you and yeah, connect, hopefully serve you. Who knows?
Outstanding. Well, I'll have all that information in the show notes. You'll be able to pick up that information there. We'll make sure we get you in contact as easily as we can with Rodolfo. It sounds like it's a fantastic program that you have. And again, I just want to say thank you so much for spending time with me here today. Really appreciate it. The value they've brought to the audience and to people around the world that you've been working with, Rodolfo, is just phenomenal. Keep up the great work, my friend. Aho, my brother.
Thank you so much, Alain. I really appreciate you for allowing me to come on here. I definitely love to have you on my show as well and share your story. I am excited to hear that. I'm pretty sure it's an amazing one. Listen, I honor you. I appreciate you for what you do, and especially working with men. That's so much needed right now. I salute you and I really applaud you for that, and I appreciate you for that. And anybody listening right now, I mean, hey, go on that, iTunes and smash that subscribe button for Alain, for the amazing work he's doing. Leave him a review. Let him know that you love him and that you care what he's doing, and you're allowing him to grow and to serve you even better. So connect with him and do that. Click that button, subscribe, and get the notification when he is on again, so you don't miss a thing. This is absolutely amazing.
Outstanding. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Yeah, appreciate you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Evolving Man podcast. Are you ready to own your destiny? To become more the man you are destined to be? Join the brotherhood that is The Awakened Man at theawakenedman.net and start forging a new destiny today.